Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. Did you know that you were living under the Glenn Beck watch? Now's when all the fun starts for us liberals. Now that we got health care going, now we're entering a new phase in the fight over health care reform in America. You see, Republicans lost the fight in Congress, then they lost the fight in the Supreme Court. Now they're fighting back by telling outright lies to the American people in an attempt to take out President Obama.
That was the central claim. Failing to buy health insurance did not result in a tax. But the court has now spoken. It is a tax.
Mitch McConnell and dozens of other Republicans in Congress say that the health care law is a tax increase on the middle class. The Republican National Committee has a new ad hammering President Obama for his broken promise.
Every single American has the right to affordable, accessible health care, and that should never be purchased with tax increases on middle-class families.
And no one helps spread these lies better than the folks, the puppets over on the curvy couch over on Fox News.
The president promised this was not a tax, but now, according to the highest court in the land, it's a tax. And it's going to hit everybody, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There are 21 taxes in this bill, 12 of which hit people making less than $200,000.
Everybody? It's going to hit everybody. The taxes in the health care bill were well known ever since the bill was voted on in both chambers of the Congress. Some of these might ring a bell. Now, there are fees on health insurers based on their own market share. Same thing for pharmaceutical manufacturers. How many of you out there are pharmaceutical manufacturers? There are also fees on high-cost health plans, the so-called Cadillac plans. How many of you have that? And there's a 10% excise tax on indoor tanning services. Of course, John Boehner hates that one. The Supreme Court ruling says the penalty for not buying health insurance is a tax. This penalty applies to people who can afford to buy insurance but choose not to. There's still no evidence of a widespread tax on the entire middle class in the law. But Republicans are still scaring Americans into thinking that the tax man is going to be coming after them. Watch how many times Senator Marco Rubio of Florida talks about sicking the IRS on people.
Millions of Americans, if they don't buy health insurance now, they're going to have an IRS problem. And they are now telling Americans, you must buy health insurance or we're going to come after you with a fine, and the IRS is going to enforce it. I don't think sicking the IRS on millions of Americans is the right answer to this question. That's going to help insure a lot more people without having to sick the IRS on everyone. The only way to get rid of this IRS problem for millions of Americans is to elect a Republican president and a Republican Congress.
He builds up a myth right there about the IRS and then gives an opinion on it. This is how they play the game, folks. Once again, if Republicans say it, the curvy couch crew is going to repeat it.
This is a tax, a gigantic tax on the American people. And the Affordable Care Act specifically spells out that the IRS will come after you if you don't pay your tax.
Apparently, one reporter at Fox News did not get the memo. Some dude named Wendell went on Fox the other day and did something really weird. He actually reported the truth.
White House said today it's not a tax, it's a penalty because it only hits people who can afford health insurance but refuse to buy it, an estimated 1% of the population.
Oops. The 1% estimate comes from the Congressional Budget Office, you know, where they have all these facts. In some cases, it'll be even less. In Massachusetts, less than 1% of residents are paying for the penalty for not enrolling in health insurance. Mitt Romney is the father of the Massachusetts health care plan, but he's still attacking the president's plan with total falsehoods.
Obamacare adds trillions to our deficits and to our national debt.
But the Congressional Budget Office says the exact opposite. The health care law will lower the deficit by $124 billion over 10 years. Romney has another big lie up his sleeve.
For up to 20 million Americans, they will lose the insurance they currently have, the insurance that they like and they want to keep.
Not even Majority Leader Eric Cantor can help Mitt Romney explain this lie.
We also heard the president consistently say that if Americans have health care they like, they can keep it. And we've seen that most Americans who have health care, they like it. They just think it's too expensive. And so what we're seeing now is Obamacare's forcing those people out of those plans.
Even Cantor admits no one is being forced off their plans. Somebody, I tell you, who is spreading the memos over there? People may choose to leave their plans because the law gives them access to a cheaper alternative. They are hardly losing coverage. They're actually getting a better deal. Romney lies. Don't stop there.
Obamacare is a job killer.
Really? I'll let Democratic House Leader Nancy Pelosi take this one.
It creates 4 million jobs, it reduces the deficit, it lowers costs to individuals, it improves quality, and expands coverage.
The Congresswoman is referring to a study by the Center for American Progress showing 4 million added jobs coming from the full implementation of the health care law. Republicans only have lies because they have no alternatives. The Republican mantra is to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, they got this repeal thing down pretty good. They just don't plan to replace it.
What do we do for the 57 million people who have pre-existing conditions?
Well, we're going to work on that.
The mantra for a while has been repeal and replace. Is there an idea of what the replace will be yet?
No. We want to take it in a very deliberate, open approach and take everybody's ideas.
Now, you are not going to hear Mitt Romney talking about any replacement alternatives. He's also not going to talk about how the health care law raises taxes. Mitt Romney was for the mandate penalty 3 years ago. In 2009, the Mittster wrote, using tax penalties, as we did, encourages free riders to take responsibility for themselves rather than pass their medical costs on to others. Hey, Mitt, come on over to the good side. You don't have to be the nominee. In many ways, Mitt Romney is the worst possible candidate for the Republicans. He can't run against health care. Not even Marco Rubio could make sense of defending Romney's health care law while bashing the president's.
He supported it at a state level, which means if you didn't like it in Massachusetts, you can move to another state. What are people supposed to do, leave the United States now because of Barack Obama's brilliant idea to stick the IRS on millions of people?
Republicans are worried about the health care law because it might actually work. And if you're a Republican, well, government can't work because then Americans are going to like it. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: will Republicans ever stop lying about health care? Text A for yes or text B for no to 622-639. Our blog is there for you at ed.msnbc.com, and we'll bring you the results later in the show. I'm joined tonight by MSNBC political analyst Richard Wolff. Richard, great to have you with us. It's obvious the strategy is to just lie their way out of this. I mean, they're trying to make this a tax issue now. Is this their only path? What alternative do they have? What do you think?
Well, they don't have many, Ray. This healthcare hasn't just been about healthcare. It's been about making this president look extreme, out of the mainstream, socialist, and frankly un-American. And the problem they have here is that in their 3-year campaign to make this president seem illegitimate, they now have the Supreme Court ruling against them. He is actually acting within the bounds of the Constitution. So all that Tea Party waving the Constitution stuff doesn't hold up anymore. So you are left with them grasping at straws and exaggerating certain things. Remember, Mitch McConnell's strategy here was to deny any Republican votes for anything, because he knew that if there were any Republican votes for health care or any other issue, then the president would look as if he had bipartisan support. And people don't understand the details, but they do understand bipartisanship. Well, now the president has a conservative vote for health care, and that vote came from a man called John Roberts.
You know, I was on the Hill yesterday, and from the reaction of some of the Republicans, they seem to be caught flat-footed by this Supreme Court decision, and they really hadn't thought up a narrative on what to say with to the American people on how, you know, they're going to fight this thing. Oh, let's try the tax thing. Maybe that's going to work. You know, I mean, that's really what it looks like to me. Well, but your thoughts?
Look, you have to believe, you have to lead people to believe that everyone's going to pay the tax. That means no one's buying health insurance anymore. I mean, what kind of fantasy land is that? You can only do this by distorting things. And you know, if people believe that, maybe their base believes that, maybe the Tea Party folks still believe that. But their problem is that those aren't the ones they need in this election. They need independent voters. They need those gettable, the squishy middle. And they're not going to buy this stuff anymore, that the president is un-American, unconstitutional, and that everyone's going to be paying a tax, because those people are actually rational.
Is this going to fire up the Tea Party? Are we going to see what we saw back in August of 2010? I mean, is this going to fuel the fire for them, all this tax talk?
Yeah, I think it will, to be honest, and we've seen some of that online. We've certainly seen it with smaller donations going through the Romney campaign. But in the end, they're getting riled up about something that most voters do not really care about right now. Yes, they care about health care generally. Yes, they may see health care as an economic issue, but what they really care about are jobs. Republicans should know that. That's what they talked about in 2010. But this isn't about jobs. So they're going to have votes on repeal through July. That's a wasted month of their time. If they think their base needs that much activity, that much enthusiasm, then they're way further behind than they're pretending they really are. They need to be talking about jobs.
And with the conservatives, Romney's going to have a hard time hiding from his past the way he embraced the mandate. I mean, there's there's so many contradictions here. It's pretty comical.
This was a Republican bunch of ideas to engender private options and personal responsibility. No free riders. And, of course, if it's a tax for the president, then it's also a tax for the governor. So, you know, in the debates, he can try doing this, and maybe he can fool a bunch of Fox News viewers when there are no reporters asking questions at his press avail. But when he gets to the presidential debates, there's going to be a man on the opposite chair, the president, and he will say, listen, if it's a tax for me, it's a tax for you too. So who are you trying to fool?
Richard Wolff, have a great weekend. Good to have you with us tonight. Thanks. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts on Twitter at Ed Show. We want to know what you think. Sarah Palin says governors should be tough and opt out of the health care plan. But those governors, if they do so, they do it at their own peril. Robert Reich with the discussion with me on this and all the details.